let's get started. Thank you all for joining today. This is our first hybrid event in the history of Meetup. That's right, in terms of ones that Meetup is organizing. Our belief is that the future is going to be not just online events, not just in-person events, but trying to take the benefits of both hybrid and in-person. Right now, we have a whole host of organizers. Give it up, organizers that are in the room right now. Whole host of organizers that are in the room right now. And it's so great to get to know each of you and understand how Meetup has been helpful and how it could be more helpful moving forward. And thank you for the hundreds of people who are dialing in as well. So we're going to be talking about evolving through crisis. Meetup has had a challenging 14, 15 months, just like many organizations have. And the question is, how can one use that as an opportunity to grow and to evolve? So let's get started. Boom. Let's try that again. There we go. Okay, so this video is going to be recorded, but you will not be on the video, have no worries. You are muted, so that way there's not going to be any issues. If you have questions, if you put them in chat, we will likely not see them. So do not put them in chat. Instead, put them in the Q&A feature at the bottom of your screen. We would love to have time for questions at the end, and closed captioning is available. All you need to do is turn that on. It's very important for us to be in an environment where anyone could access Meetup in any way, shape, or form. Okay. Do I need to point to something else? Oh, that would be why. There we go. Okay, introduction done. Update on Meetup, then questions. Meetup, as some of you know, was founded directly after 9/11, in a time of tremendous crisis that probably hasn't been repeated at least in the United States. It certainly has been repeated in other places outside the United States until now. We came into existence when our founder, Scott Heiferman, said it shouldn't take a tragedy to get people to come together as a community. And we evolved and we grew during that time. And we wanted to share a little bit more about our history, what we did during the pandemic, and we're going to be doing in the future. So we just found this because it's just so cool. This is a whiteboard from 2002. In fact, it's probably from around June 14th, 2002. In fact, on June 14th, which was how many days ago? 2 days ago. I'm glad we have an audience here, or else I won't remember anything. 2 days ago, it was our 19th anniversary. We are in the last year of being a teenager, and we are now need to be a grown-up next year. So we still have 1 more year of teenage years. And this is a whiteboard of the website plans for how Meetup should function. This should be search, and there should be topics that we search, and people should create topics, and people should create groups and events, and then members should attend those events, and there should be venues that people attend. It's amazing. This was done 19 years ago, and we found the whiteboard. This was, go back, this was the first website that Meetup launched. And my God, the top things on the website were Tori Amos. Please do not ask me questions about Tori Amos or Ultima or Xena. I remember a little bit about that, but I don't know much about Jehovah's Witnesses. But the amazing thing, this was the first website launched. And when we did an analysis back to 2002, the #1 topic of area that people were the most interested in Meetup in 2002 was, you guessed it, probably you didn't guess it, was witches. So tell you how much we've evolved. Witches is no longer a #1 topic. I don't even know if it's a top 1,000 topic, but it's quite interesting to see how the company has ultimately evolved, and some, reminders of some of the online sites we use, Slashdot and LiveJournal and Bloggers and Fark that some of you might remember back in the day. Wow. Okay, we've evolved to something a little bit bigger. We now have 55 million members worldwide, 330,000 Meetup groups, 100,000 Meetup events every week, which means we have about 15,000 events every single day. You're in one of them right now. Actually, you're in one of them of the largest Meetup group, which we'll talk about shortly, which is Meetup Live, in 10,000 cities, 193 countries. So again, this is all because of you, all because of our organizers who make Meetup what it is today. Moving forward. Let's get back together, and that's the theme. Yeah, okay, thank you. Organizers. Let's get back together is something that I think so many people, particularly in the United States, and increasingly in Canada, in the UK, more in Europe, and not quite there yet in Asia, for very good reasons that we're all extremely eager to do. If you saw yourself in one of the videos there, by the way, in the video, put it into chat because that would be awesome. These are videos of actual meetup events that have been happening sometimes before the pandemic, some of them during the pandemic, and some of them as we're emerging out of the pandemic. It's really important to us at Meetup to help to support getting back together, getting back safely together. And this is something, this video and our themes that we're going to be sharing is part of a Get Back Together campaign that we're going to be working on, and hopefully you're going to be seeing in the months ahead in certain cities around the US and around the world. Okay, I don't know about you, but I'm a huge fan of David Letterman. I don't know why, maybe it's the giant beard that he has, but anyone with a beard like that, he's really funny. And I've always been a big fan of his. And I love David Letterman because why, audience? What does he have that's so famous? What does he have, organizers? He has a top 10 list. So we're going to do a top 10 list of evolving through crisis and share with you a little bit about Meetup, our challenges, what we did to overcome during our crisis, and how we've evolved. So here we go. And feel free to again ask questions and we'll hopefully answer them. Number one is before we talk about how we have evolved, it's more to talk about where we're not evolving. We are not evolving our mission. Our mission is a constant. Our mission, which is to empower personal growth through real human connections, our vision to help people find and create communities that gather around shared interests and identities. That is rock solid, that is never changing, pre-pandemic, in pandemic, post-pandemic. The reason why we do what we do is because of the loneliness epidemic that exists out there. 46% of people regularly feel lonely, and that issue is only more problematic and of concern around people who are younger, people who are in Gen Z, where the numbers were as high as 62%. And this, by the way, was before the pandemic. Everything is actually higher during the pandemic, during this period of time. And the hope is that as people get out, loneliness will decrease. But Meetup's mission of helping to really cure loneliness is just so paramount. 25% of people, 1 in 4 people, don't have a single confidant that they could go to, that they feel safe going to. 1 in 4 people, which is just not a father or a mother, a friend, a partner, anyone that they could go to. And 89% of people said that their last social interaction was interrupted through this thing over here. This thing is a double-edged sword. It's a blessing and a curse, and oftentimes more of a curse than a blessing. And that's why Meetup exists. We exist to use technology to get people off of technology. And it's so important. And a lot of companies have important KPIs. Our KPI is how many hours of connecting we are able to facilitate. So in 2019, around the pandemic time, pre-pandemic time, we were able to have over 30 million hours of in-person connecting. And the future, again, is going to be in-person and hybrid. And hopefully our KPI goes from 30 million to 40 million to 50 million. And the more connections that we could build, the more that we're ultimately helping the world. And ultimately, and the most important word that I used there was we, because we are all doing this together. It is a combination of all the members that are on this call or the organizer on the call. Number 9 in David Letterman's list. And I'll ask the organizers in the room, not yet, but they could do a little bit of a drum roll at various times because you got to do some fun stuff in person. We used to be owned by WeWork. And WeWork is famous for many different reasons, and infamous for other reasons. And part of it is because the person I ultimately reported into was Adam Neumann. And in Adam Neumann's world, growth was the priority. We are now owned by 2 different main investors, but the number 1 investor and chairman of our company is someone named Kevin Ryan. Kevin was the CEO of DoubleClick, which was acquired by Google 15 or so years ago, and he's the founder of Business Insider, of MongoDB. I'm sure the entire tech, anyone who's tech knows MongoDB, Guild, Zola, and about 12 to 15 others. In fact, for our hybrid event, we are using AliCorp's office, which is Kevin Ryan's venture capital firm that acquired us, and his focus is customers the priority. The reason I'm mentioning this is because the pandemic and the needing to evolve, the biggest evolution that oftentimes needs to occur in an organization is cultural. And our culture evolved during the pandemic because of who our owners was. We evolved from having WeWork as an owner, where it was about growth, to having AliCorp and Kevin Ryan as the owner, which is about members, organizers, customers, and really investing behind them. And I'm going to share a whole bunch of things that we've done and things that we're going to be doing around making the customer an increasing priority, with very specific examples. Okay, so now David Letterman, number 8. Drum roll, please, for people who are here. Number 8. Now, there we go. Where do I point this towards? Oh, this is just to say that. Number 8, online meetup events are here to stay. So one of the questions we oftentimes get from organizers is, oh gosh, online events are so valuable. Please don't kill online events. I just spoke to an organizer who is actually the organizer of the second largest meetup group in the world. It has 62,000 members, Estacio. And Estacio was telling me that during the pandemic, he had 56 different online events, and he was begging me, please make, begging is a strong word, he was asking, please make sure that online events stay, because they're so much more efficient, and so many people from around the world can access those events, and the answer is they're going to stay. And you can see some numbers here. These are actual numbers. IRL is in red. Ooh, this was a tough time where our numbers went way down during the pandemic, and increasingly they just keep going up and up and up and up, and IRL, but you can still see the blue is a big number. The blue is number of online events. It's still a big number. The other thing that I think is super cool for data geeks like myself, and possibly many others, is the right-hand side. So it's a heat map of the percentage of RSVPs to online events. So if something is green, it means that the vast majority of events are online and not in person. So what are the green countries? Well, Brazil, not surprisingly and unfortunately, because the pandemic is so out of control still there. India is green. And then those countries that are red, meaning that there's a higher percentage of in-person events, are in Australia, are in the United States, are in Norway, it looks like, and also in Algeria. That's good to hear. And in Iraq and in Saudi Arabia and in Oman. Those are the countries that are more red, and the ones that are more yellow / orange are in between. So it's just interesting to see the depiction of what percentages are in person versus online, and how that has evolved over time. Feel free to ask questions about that. Always happy to share. Okay, number 7. I'm going to show a video right now about why our focus on tech debt during the pandemic was so important. You're waiting for music, you'll be waiting a long time. There's no music here, sorry. But what this is showing is that it takes, in order to load it, took 7.5 seconds on the right-hand side, whereas on the left-hand side previously, while we had some serious tech debt, it took 13.7 seconds, almost double the amount of time. What is tech debt? Tech debt is an accumulation of essentially 19 years worth of history and millions of lines of code that made it very, very difficult for Meetup to make a change. Imagine a scenario where you're building a house, someone's fixing a sewer like 3 blocks away, and suddenly your shower starts dripping. That's not a good scenario. So all these things were so interconnected within Meetup that someone would try to fix something somewhere and it would break in 10 other places. One of the things we did during the pandemic is we said, how can we focus on our tech debt and significantly remove and eliminate some older systems, fix significant number of bugs, make sure we have a better member and organizer experience, speed up the experience for as many different people as possible, and make it easier to iterate on our product. So number 7 way in which we evolved during our crisis was really focusing on things that sometimes people can't externally see, but enable us to be able to make changes that make it a lot easier for the user experience. And we did that, and that's an example of just becoming much, much faster in our site, which is known for techies as more performant in our site. Okay, going to number 6, SEO. So SEO, for those who don't know, stands for search engine optimization. It basically is in a Google search, do you rank high when someone looks for Meetup or event near me, or do you rank low? One of the areas that we invested a ton of time and energy and effort into was growing our SEO. Why? Because we want you organizers, all of you in the room, and all of you that are in video to be able to get the right members and as many different members to join your groups and to attend your events. So we focus heavily on SEO. So this is an example. We actually, during this period of time, increased our SEO by 5 positions. Now that might be, you might not understand the context behind that. What it essentially means is, let's say you were ranked 15th on average, now you're ranked 10th. You were ranked 8th on average for a term, now we're ranked 3rd. So there's a big difference in 5 positions. And in different countries, you can see we really increased our rank. So in the UK, we increased it by 20 positions. We're actually at the highest rank in the history of our company right now, which is really important because we want to drive more members to join your groups and to attend your events. In the Netherlands, we're up 8 positions. In Ireland, we're this is on average, 8 positions. In Spain, we're on average up 10 positions. And this is really important because, and here's the negative news, traffic is still generally down. And the main reason for that is because there are certain terms that people were looking for a lot pre-pandemic. A lot of people were looking for the term event, for example. So you can see here, there were like 4,500 clicks for the word event, and the search terms for the word event is way below what it used to be. Meetup went way down as a search term that people were looking for, and thank God is recovering and is growing, as you can see in the bottom right-hand side. And those are 2 areas that there is not as much search for as there used to be, but we believe it's going to come back. Some areas are growing back, in fact, even higher than what they were before the pandemic. So people looking for the terms group, people looking for the terms near me is actually higher today than it was before the pandemic. Our ability to build our platform, our website, our apps, to be able to rank higher from an SEO perspective, or specifically our website, will enable you to get more members and organizers, which is really important. Number 5 area that we have evolved, thank you for not making me feel so alone, in how we've evolved during the crisis, is that we've decided that we wanted to invest. You know, there's a business philosophy of yin and yang. And when when some companies decide that they want to pull back on investments in a pandemic, other companies say, no, this is an opportunity to do the exact opposite of that. To say many companies are pulling back on investments and pulling back on how they're spending money. We're going to do the opposite of that. We're going to actually increase our spend. This is the, maybe I shouldn't show this, but we are anyway. This is how much money on a monthly basis we're spending in paid marketing. Examples of ads here. I'm sure all of you, whether you're on Facebook or Google, you've seen ads. And we want to, again, drive more people towards attending Meetup events. We drive more RSVPs, and we keep increasing actually the amount of money that we're spending to drive more people to attend groups. And it's starting to actually work. So this is just a cool chart. So I thought I would show it. Thank you, God. The evolution during the crisis is starting to pass. California went 100%. I think they eliminated all of their COVID-related restrictions as of yesterday. Same thing with New York. Vermont, as many of you know, is at over 80%. Texas is Texas and does their thing. But this is showing California is seeing enormous growth in RSVPs. Basically, most recently, New York, lots of growth. Florida, again, really big growth. These are actual numbers over here. Texas, big growth in RSVPs. US, obviously, what you're seeing there. And then again, not surprisingly, and I may add, we shouldn't be seeing growth in RSVPs in India. That would be, frankly, concerning, especially with everything that's going on there. Maybe growth in online events, but certainly not in person. India is still down. Brazil is still down. France was down and is seeing kind of a very large pickup. UK is growing really like crazy, as is Canada as well. After it went down, now it's going really back up more recently. Number 4 thing that we did during the pandemic is we said, Meetup isn't just about kind of a technology, but we're about a family. And we're a family that wants to enable every organizer to become more successful and more effective at being an organizer. So we created a suite of different things to help organizers become more successful. So we created something called Meetup Live. Meetup Live is an opportunity. Well, actually, Meetup Live is what you're all on right now. So you all know what Meetup Live is. That makes it really easy to explain. But examples of different groups is how to start a successful Meetup group, fundamentals of marketing your Meetup group, how to network your way to an empire, how to grow a Meetup Pro network. These are ways in which we found people who were experts in their fields to help to educate people to become successful as well. Because we don't want Meetup, again, to be technology, we want it to be a community. And part of a community is helping and supporting and growing each other. And Meetup Live events have been, we've had organizer workshops, we've had panels, we have fireside chats, we've had a very successful series which will continue forever on dismantling social injustice. Extremely, extremely important. Team here is happy that it's going to continue forever because it should continue forever because, well, I guess until social injustice is solved, which we would love for it not to have to continue forever, but it's something that will take a tremendous amount of time and effort to solve, and we're going to be there until we feel like that we're in a much better place. We've had 138,000 people have RSVP'd and attended Meetup Live events, and the entire goal is how can we enable you to be more successful. We created a newsletter. That newsletter called Community Matters. You could go onto it by going to meetup.com/blog. If you're not on it already, we have 1.5 million subscribers with all these different events. Actually, I just read something awesome in the blog today. It's an article written by an exceptional meetupper, Ariana King, about Juneteenth and ways to celebrate Juneteenth and the history of Juneteenth. I think it was beautiful to hear that the House has recently just passed, becoming an official holiday, and I think it's going to be going to the Senate. All meetuppers are off on Juneteenth as well, and that's an example of a blog to each group can think about how they could potentially celebrate Juneteenth, whether it's a core to your group or whether it's outside of necessarily the core of your group. So that's a blog that we did. And you can see lots of engagement, certainly in our blog, with over 500,000 people who are using it. And the last thing is to call out, as we now have a podcast where we interviewed some amazing organizers and some experts in community. If you go to your screen right now, take out your phone, and you want to just try to take a picture or scan me over here, then you will open up to a page, which is meetuppodcast.com. And you will be able to get access to our podcast if no one has listened to it. But we've had tens and tens of thousands of people listen to it. Okay, let's talk about product enhancements, number 3. So the way to evolve during a crisis is to take a step back and say, what are the things that our community has constantly been asking for? And there's some things that you're constantly asking for that I swear to you, we're planning. I swear to you, we're planning, whether it's around photography, whether it's around rich text, whether it's other communication tools that are very, very important. There's some things that we fully execute against, some things that we're in the middle of executing against. So I'll share with you a few very fast things that we've executed against during the pandemic. So number 1 is we want to make it much easier to share events. And we created these shelves here with red boxes to make it easier to have people share events on Android and on iOS. So wanted to highlight that. For pro networks, it was so painful. If you're Google, if you're AWS, if you're WordPress, and you have 100, 200, 300, 400 different groups, and you wanted to create a single event that would be shared by all 300 groups, you had to create 300 different events. So inefficient. God bless you. So what we did is made it really easy for someone who wants to create multiple events within a network to do so with just one click, or creating one event, as opposed to having to create 200-300 different events. That's called the Pro Network Event Schedule. If you're in Pro, you sure have heard about it, but if you haven't, then it's an important feature that has been asked by our Pro organizers for quite some time. We launched that during the pandemic. We've updated our search algorithm. We want to prioritize people, when someone is looking for a group and the group has a planned event coming up, we want that group to be shown earlier than another group that may not have had an event in a while or may not have any other event planned. We want to create experiences for members that when they join a group, they get a series of potential events that are of interest to them. So we updated our search algorithm, and that led to some meaningful growth, such that groups that have more events planned in the next 14 days get higher prioritized. So if people want to get their groups to be a little prioritized higher, then they could do that. Ooh, someone has water, throw. Got it. Woo. Coming soon, hybrid events like we're on right now. It's very important to have both a link for the Zoom link or whatever platform you're using. It doesn't have to be Zoom. We've had 100 different platforms used, and also the venue. And this is just a quick mock-up of something that's going to be launching very soon that enables people to have both hybrid events in both in-person and also via their preferred online platform. We also made it easier for members to sign up and attend an event immediately. What we used to do is, want to register an event? Okay, register. Now tell us this information. Now tell us this information. Now tell us this. Now tell us this. And we'd ask for so much information that people would just abandon. That's not so good. So we ended up making it much easier for members to register quicker, attend an event faster, and that led to actually a 16% increase in the number of people who register to attend in registrations. We added a number of different search filters to, again, make it quicker and easier for people to find the right events and to attend events, to grow RSVPs to all of your groups. And we're really trying to, especially now, where many of you and our organizers are kind of in between states. Some of you might have organized your first in person, some of you are planning, you're not sure when to do so, to try to prompt more events to be organized with the right types of prompts at the right particular time. And that's led to a nice increase, as you can see in green, of numbers of events that are being created. A big focus of ours is translations. We have improved our translations. We're not as good as we need to be. We have improved some of our localization. We're not as good as we need to be, but we spent a good part of 2001 improving our translations into 13 to 14 different languages, that we support today. And the other last thing to point out that we evolved during the crisis is our customer service. So we have two key metrics. One of them is how long it takes to respond after an organizer or a member calls. And you can see down is good here because it's the amount of time that it takes to respond. It's down kind of over half of what it was at kind of in the pre-pandemic times. And also we want to be faster in terms of approving groups. For when a new group starts, we don't want to take a very long time where groups kind of lose their momentum. We have two more ways in which Meetup has evolved during the crisis. Number two is specifically in mobile. We have invested a ton of time and energy from some incredible people at Meetup to really try to improve our iOS and Android experiences. I think the numbers kind of speak for themselves, which is everything is growing. Now, the reason why it's growing is because it's a better experience. It's not that complicated. Great, good experiences, you have growth. Bad experiences, you don't have growth. So our RSVP is kind of really way up. Our registration's way up. People joining groups way up. All these things are growing actually much faster on iOS and Android than they are on the web. Part of that is because we've improved so many bugs. We're not done yet. We have definitely a number of bugs that we still need to address. But our iOS rating, for example, went from 4.71 to 4.75. Android rating went from 4.1 to 4.66. And the volume went up also quite significantly. The result of having better ratings means we rank higher when people search for an iOS or Android app. And that's resulting in people downloading our apps in a vastly higher rate than they did beforehand. And the percentage of download is much bigger. The thing we're and the areas also within our apps that we're focused on, it's called Project Renaissance, is how do we make our app much better for millennials? How do we use gestures, smart default, customization? How do we make our apps much better for Gen Z? How do we make it better for emerging markets? And there's a whole host of features that we're focused on, as you can see here, within our apps in terms of our 2021 and 2022 roadmap. One of the biggest areas that we're focused on as part of evolving during crisis is creating a separate organizer app. We want to make sure that the experience that you have as an organizer is going to be dedicated towards you. Much like Uber has its own app for people who are drivers, we need to have our own app for organizers. This is just a concept around it. We've had so many different conversations with many different organizers around the world. There's some important takeaways that we've had in talking to the many organizers, dozens and dozens of organizers. We need the app to facilitate a consistent and continuous experience, whether you're using iOS or Android or the web. We need to make sure that the notifications and the communication tools are accessible and reliable. And we need to make sure that there's a way to quickly check in if you're an organizer for people when you have your in-person events. And there's a whole host of other features that we're going to be focusing on. And the goal is to try to launch something in Q4 and kind of stay tuned around that. And last, and definitely not least, the most important thing is we need to just continue to listen. We need to keep listening to our organizers and members. And we host workshops all the time. This past month, we've hosted over five workshops with over 400 organizers attending the workshops. We had conversations with many organizers. I'm sure there are people here that were part of those workshops. Thank you for attending them. Thank you for caring as much as you do and for looking to help us. And we talked about a whole host of things between hybrid events, growing membership, better communication tools, driving engagement, etc. So thank you for continuing to help us to really help each of you. We got lots of feedback on why do people use Meetup to organize, and we're putting that into kind of cloud maps so we could see, what is the preponderance of reasons why people use it. And this is just a sampling of some of the reasons why different organizers use it, so we can understand use cases. And by understanding a use case of why someone uses it, it makes it better. And we're going to wrap up really with just a quick summary and then video, which is to say the pandemic drove a significant decrease in events. It drove a significant decrease in RSVPs, and fortunately, we are back. So this is just last month over month. In the US, our registrations is up 25%, Canada's up 31%. APAC stands for Asia Pacific, is still down month over month, again, for good reason. Europe, it's up. Latin America is actually up in registrations. People RSVPing, again, depending on the country, depending on the location, is up or down, again, mostly up. And then and events scheduled is also up. Again, big differences by location, which is a symptom of just the world as we know it. So top 10 list here is mission is constant, evolution from during evolving through crisis from our new Meetup owners, online events are here to stay. By focusing on tech debt, we're going to improve the user experience. SEO drives member growth, and paid marketing drive more RSVPs. We are sharing best practices with Meetup Live and with Community Matters blog. We're improving our product, especially around mobile, and we do need to continue to keep listening. And that's the most important thing, frankly. That's why it's number one. We need to keep listening to every single one here. The reason why we're here, well, here's a nice little video, just as a 10-second video of why we're here.
As soon as I started this group and I saw what it was and how much I wasn't the only one that needed it, became very clear to me, like, this is my purpose. This is what I'm meant to do. This is the work that I'm here to do. It's all about getting to know each other on a deeper level. And one thing we say a lot at She Goes High is we want to know who you are, not just what you do.
I think that sums up so much, because Meetup is about creating safe spaces for people to connect with each other and to understand who you really are. And one of my least favorite questions, frankly, is what do you do? Because what you do is not who you are. And I think that's a big part of Meetup in helping to really connect people. So thank you so much for showing up for each other. It means so much. If you want to contact me, my email is here. I always love hearing from everyone. We have some time for questions. For people who have product-related questions, this is important. On July 15th, there's going to be a product update, whereas our heads of product are going to be sharing with you different ways in which we're going to be updating our product and different changes that have been made, different changes that we're going to be making. And there's going to be a much deeper dive around that. So look out for July 15th. Put it in your calendar. Do we know the time of that or not yet? On July 15th?
It's going to be at
3 o'clock. Okay, I figured that was a standard time. Okay, 3 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, I should say, which is a different time outside of, depending on where you are. July 15th. Any questions around that? Ingrid asked a question. Should we now be using SEO in group descriptions? Really good question. The answer is yes. So not everyone, most people are not experts in SEO. However, if you think that by putting a group description together, that by hitting on certain keywords that are important for you to rank in, it will drive more people to attend your group and join your event, then absolutely you should be doing so. We will talk about having a Meetup live event with sharing some SEO best practices. I'd love to put that on the list of things. And that way we could come up with some specific suggestions on how to enable you to have all of your events and all of your groups rank high. So let's put that on the docket. So Ingrid, thank you so much for asking that question. Tim asked, great idea on the organizer app. When's the ETA of the release? So we're thinking it's probably in the September, October, November kind of timeframe that we're looking towards in terms of the release. And stay tuned. I wouldn't be sharing that if I thought that there was a low likelihood of hitting that timeframe. So expect it to hit during that timeframe. Al Berjanski asked, and Al, how you doing? I've actually known Al for a few years. Thank you for being a friend of Meetup and a Meetup organizer. How does Meetup plan to sustain and leverage the surge in activity resulting from things reopening? Okay, so I think the answer, Al, is there's going to be the natural that benefit that we will get of simply the pent up demand and pent up need for people to get back out and do things together. So what you're going to see is, let's take a restaurant. A lot of restaurants are getting very, very busy. And that's great. And people are going back out to restaurants. People are going back out to events and they're joining groups. And that's going to happen naturally. But the restaurants that are really going to make it in the future, in 6 months or a year, are the ones that are evolving their service and evolving their product. And the most important thing that we could do is, like I said, is listen, understand needs, and continue to evolve and improve our product. We are going to be investing more, actually a lot more, in marketing. We're going to be doing our first big brand marketing campaign in over 3 years. And that will help to drive kind of getting back together in ways that will also sustain and continue that growth. But at the end of the day, growth will be a result of having positive experiences from organizers, positive experience from members, and there's no shortcut to it. It's about creating positive experiences, a better product, and that's what we're focused on. And through that, that will help us. So thank you, Al, for asking that question. Alexandra, asked, will the app automatically be updated? So my assumption is that it won't be, that you will have an opportunity to download the app and you'll be encouraged to download the app. And you'll get enough communications probably about downloading it. We're gonna not release it to everyone all at the same time. We're gonna have a beta group of organizers. If that's something you're interested in, being part of the beta group of organizers for our new organizer app, email me and I'll make sure it's forwarded to the right person. And we, again, love your feedback because it gives us an opportunity to listen and then do things that will make it absolutely better. So thank you, Alexandra, for asking that question. Oh, we have a question from someone who is in person. Yes, what's your question?
So,
First, state your name and the group that you're an organizer for.
And he's at the GDGDC. My question.
GDGDC group. So that's Google developer groups in the DC area.
Yeah.
Anise, what's your question?
My question is, you talked a lot about how Meetup has evolved over this period, but what are some things you've seen organizers do that shows like they've evolved as well?
Okay, so obviously it's a partnership with organizers and meet up together. One of the things that I've really appreciated is there are some organizers during this period of time that have just stepped up to make the experience online to be not a boring PowerPoint, someone just talking at you type experience, which is just not a good engaging meetup experience. When organizers are using apps, whether it's like Icebreaker or whether it's other tools that can help people to engage more deeply with each other, to create breakout rooms where people are meeting one-on-one or two-on-one with each other. Those are some of the organizers that are really thinking about. When I've attended dozens of different online meetup events, and sometimes I attend and it's just a person talking at you. And sometimes I attend and it's this back and forth repartee. It's a real engagement. And I think it's those organizers that understand that the best online experiences try to bring out those experiences that are in person to happen online. And it's not about one way, it's about interactivity. So I would say for all of those people that are continue to have online, it's really important that experience be as interactive as possible. In addition to that, I've seen many organizers starting to organize their first event. And I think one of the in person. And one of the best things you could do is reach out to your community and get their thoughts. Get their thoughts on when the right time to do it is, on what safety precautions people feel comfortable, uncomfortable with. We just had an online, in-person get together today at Meetup, and I'm actually wearing a green bracelet right now. And the reason for it is because a great practice in getting back together is to give people an opportunity to make sure that they feel safe in person. So we actually had green bands, yellow bands, and red bands for people. And green meant, I'm ready. Come over here, give me a hug. Orange bands meant, no hug, please. But I'm good with the fuss pump. And excuse me, yellow bands. And then orange bands basically meant, I'm here, I'm comfortable being here, but I really want to still keep my distance. So I think that's an important practice for as people are getting back together, make sure you understand what the needs of people are so that more people can feel comfortable when they're back together in person. Thank you, Anise from GDG, and asking that question. Okay, so we are now wrapped up. I just wanted to thank every single person here for joining today's Meetup event. Thank you for continuing to be part of our family and our community, and we hope to have you a part of us for many, many years to come. Thank you. You are the reason that we will ultimately end up building community and succeeding. Thank you from the bottom of my heart.